thank you for the opportunity to come here and tell you a little story from inside the boardroom of the region of Halland, because that's where I spend my time. I will tell you what we did over the last few years based on a stress existing among the people managing this region, which is region Halland in the southwest of Sweden. It's a single-payer public integrated healthcare system, which is a great advantage because that means that we own all the patient pathway, which is an important word in this notion here now. We are serving a complete population, meaning that we can see the consequences from different initiatives in one part of the system taking place in another part of the system. We have under our wings ambulatory care, hospital care, 3 hospitals, and primary care units, and which makes it pretty comprehensive. We're happy to live in a part of Sweden where we have long lives in general. People fare well, and that was not due to us investing a whole lot of taxpayers' money in health. There were other explanations. I might be able to give you 1 or 2 of them today. The stress that we still felt within the boardroom, being in this positive situation, is actually this, that the demand that we are needing to live up to is increasing due to the success of Western healthcare. So people have the advantage in this room and in Sweden and other similar countries to become old and to have multiple chronic diseases. So that's what drives our needs to deliver better in healthcare. Because when you increase in health, or in age, sorry, your healthcare utilization increase almost exponentially. This is Region Halland data. This is what we spend per age strata on the y-axis. So what has Western healthcare done in order to meet these rapidly increasing needs that are very complex? Those are not single disease people. Those are very complex patients. Well, all over OECD, apart from a few countries, we hired more people to healthcare. That's the main response thus far. Expanding our business, consuming more money. I know that we in Sweden have a finite amount of money. This is not a resilient way of acting on the challenges ahead. Another new phenomenon is this. The ecosystem of healthcare, which we've heard about today, different parts, is actually becoming more and more fragmented. In the middle, I put some patient looking like people on stocking or something. But around this patient today exists a very fragmented ecosystem of providers and possibilities to meet her needs. And in this situation, as you all understand, having a holistic, comprehensive view of the health situation of the patient is very challenging. That means that healthcare is becoming an information problem as a whole. So what we did in Halland was to look for facts. On a systems level, how do we develop our healthcare system to meet the needs of the people that are increasing in the needing ages? And we looked to data. All healthcare system has huge amounts of data, here in Finland and all over the Western world at least. But the problem is that a lot of the data stays as data, which has very limited value if you don't transform it into information, which in itself has very limited value. Based on the information, you need to create new insights in order to alter behavior, in order to increase efficiency and patient value. If you stop here, you didn't do your homework. If you stop here, you didn't do your homework. Some academics, I'm partly academic, are happy to stop here. And I see the light now, but it's not enough. I call this that we work along the value chain of knowledge. Because when you reach this point, the patient value or the efficiency increase, you need to evaluate what you did on the same data that created your information and insights and altered behavior, so that you have a closed loop of interventions. So we're completing the journey from imprecision medicine to precision medicine. You know all this about genetics, etc. We're complementing that with precision healthcare management, so to speak. And how do you do that? Well, you need the data, first of all, and that's what you are all craving for in this room, because that's what we all need to develop our products and also help our patients. So, 4 years ago now, 5 soon, we started collecting data from all aspects of care and all parts of care, all silos included. Departments, hospitals, etc. But not only data from these units, but all kinds of data. So HR data, clinical data, financial data, whatever. Because in the boardroom, you need to see all the perspectives at once in order to make the right decisions. We also understood that we couldn't suffice with the accounting capabilities that we had. So we created something we call patient encounter costing. And we did this together with Harvard Medical School and Harvard Business School, who have been joining us along these years. The US system is fantastic, but very fragmented, very expensive. The Nordic systems are much more held together. So they are happy to be here and work together with us. We also put directly on the platform analytic tools allowing for application of AI, because those tools really help you understand patterns in the data that are not easy to see otherwise. We also have dashboards and all the conventional stuff, because you consume information and create insights very differently depending on who you are and where in the organization you are. So we did this, and we did it with the costs and capacity and provider information, patient information, and clinical information, and also the production information, or rather data, that we use to data drive management and data drive precision medicine. It allows us to do variability analysis, return on investment analysis, system-wide. And it also allows us to, on the individual level, follow patients across the system to guarantee that they fare well, that we follow guidelines, basically. And this is not only on the group level, but also on the individual level. And we created, this is in Swedish, a Center for Information-Driven Care to work with these data in order to create new insights. And this is where our policymakers turn when they have interest in understanding better how we can address mental illness, for example. or congestive heart failure patients faring all over the place in very complicated care chains. How do we address our resources so that they create value for patients, not just spreading out intervention hoping that things will be better? And when you use advanced analytics on these platforms, you can stratify, or you can relate different possible initiatives to each other to understand fact-based, data-driven, the time to result, but also the cost impact overall. And there's another dimension here, and that's the equality dimension. Because in Sweden, we are devoted to create equal care to all. And I'm sure you are here too, because that's what our policymakers and our laws tell us to do. So we can stratify, we can relate them to each other, and there's no lack of good ideas. There's good ideas to solve problems all over the place, but we can only focus on so many of them due to development capacity and resources. But what we also are happy to be able to do is to use the data to create real-world evidence. And that's taking pharmaceutical studies to the real world, understanding how different pharmaceuticals work in their real environment. MedTech as well, new solutions. Clinical, academic research questions are applicable here. And we can also aggregate data and follow the epidemiology, the change in patterns in diseases, simply. So what we have done is to go from descriptive medicine, where we basically describe where we are and discuss that in order to think through where we want to be, to predictive medicine, where the tools help us predict what will happen if we do things before we actually do them, kind of simulation, which is also preparing for what is sometimes called prescriptive medicine. And that's the next step. We are not there today, but that's where you automate prescriptions, taking away the physician from the screen even. We'll see when that happens. I'm sure it happens, because lack of personal capacity is a great problem in our world. And we apply AI because it's pretty natural. If you think of it, AI is good for pattern recognition. That's what we call diagnostics. AI is good for prognosis and prediction. That's what we clinicians sometimes call risk evaluation. That's what we base our choice of treatment upon. But building algorithms is super complicated in our world. You, as programmers that we heard before, have a complicated world. Implementing these algorithms is even worse, because you need to take into account so many aspects. And I would like to highlight two of them that you will certainly encounter when you meet clinicians and definitely patients and their relatives. And that's the ethical aspects. How can I be sure that your algorithm fits for me and is doing the correct job for me? Or how is your clinical decision support system adapted to the emergency room that I'm working in? You will have all these critical questions, and you need to meet them up front, or you will have a dead product. We were happy or lucky enough to have this support nearby in the local university. It happens to be so that the local university has a unit called CASER, programming Volvo's self-driving vehicles. So we went to them and said, hey, can we steal your thinking? Can we steal your algorithms? And they said, well, fine, you're not a competitor, you can have them. And our skills, and our people, because they are super interested in creating value and safety for people in their, drivers in their case, and for patients in our case. So we transitioned a lot of competences from the vehicle industry to our analytics capabilities, and we joined with people from Boston. To be sure that we were on the right track, we published. We do still publish what we do. So a lot of what I say is readily available on scientific search engines like PubMed. We were able to train the algorithm to foresee who would die within 30 days after we sent them home from the emergency department. Whoa, scary. Well, that is our world. That's the kind of hard decisions we are dealing with every day. And we need the support we can get to become safer and better. We built an algorithm helping us to identify patients who were at high risk of being readmitted into the hospital within 30 days. And just realizing that it's clearly doable is really fascinating. So, but a few conclusion thus far is that when different worlds meet, developers, legal people, clinicians, patients, all that are necessary in the team developing new solutions, healthcare professionals underestimate the potential. And that's probably because they are not trained in this world. Developers definitely often underestimate the challenges. I have heard things like, just give us the data and we'll solve your problem. That's a big no-no, because that developer will not have a case. AI is less of a tech problem, actually. I say this in the wrong room, maybe. But the challenges that mount on the horizon are behavioral. Can you trust this algorithm? Why should I change my way of behaving based on what this little thing on the screen is telling me? How can it be better than me? And stuff like that. Oh, sorry. This has in part brought us to the position where we are today in Sweden, among the 21 regions acting in Sweden, providing healthcare public, with Halland up in the comfortable right corner. You have productivity on this axis and quality on this axis, and this is a national body, so we didn't come up with these figures ourselves. But we seem to be a fairly efficient healthcare system in terms of Sweden at least, and we are developing based on facts. We are also developing together now in Boston, because I mentioned the Boston team, and they are implementing these capabilities in their own system. And no other similarities mentioned, but they have 3 systems. They have primary care, they have a university. The name of their university is Harvard, and their hospitals are Mass General, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital. So we're playing in another league, but the smaller league is easier for development. Their league is very impactful, but development is more challenging, more stakeholders. We had some discussions before lunch about privacy. Privacy is certainly super important, and data sharing is on the lips of everyone today, and we are therefore not sharing data with whomever. We are not transferring data to any other place. We are doing most of this on-premise, but we are happy to collaborate with other systems like Boston, like other systems similar to our, to increase data volumes simply, because that's where you get even higher precision in your algorithm training. And for that, you need privacy-preserving techniques to share insights, but not the raw data itself. Some people refer to that as distributed analytics. Apple is talking in terms of federated learning. But it's a very hot topic. And we are now being funded in Sweden by national bodies to spread these capabilities across Sweden. Happy to do it across the Nordics or whomever is interested. But we will not do it through merging data. And it's not even necessary to wait for the laws allowing us to merge data, because you can do so much before that. All this was done before merging allowing legislation was in place, and it's still not in Sweden. I think it's also good for trust, because in order to be able to develop the healthcare system, make it more efficient and safe, you need people's data, and they will not share it with you if they don't trust you. So never jeopardize the data of people. You will be out of business. And as a final, we're building further onto our healthcare system by constructing the concept of a virtual hospital. And I agree with the first speaker today that we will not have larger hospitals in the future. Our hospital group has decreased its in-hospital beds by 20% during the 4 years, where population has increased 5%, and our occupancy levels have decreased to 89%. So it's certainly doable if you act upon facts. We will see in the future the impact of this very exciting route we're taking, together with Cubist, who is in the room somewhere. But I also need to thank a lot of stakeholders and smart people who contributed to this, because this is really a team's work, and the team needs to consist of clinical people, computer scientists, legal people, all kinds of people, behavioral scientists. We don't have one of those in the team. Behavioral economics is super interesting to add the team with. My time is almost up. If you have any questions or so, I will be in the Inoka's booth for a while, I guess. They enable this little expose of what we've been doing over the 4 last years. And if you would like to get in direct contact and see if we could do something together or learn more or whatever, I'm perfectly reachable. It's not possible to not find me over LinkedIn, Google, wherever you search for things. So thank you.